I like to have something happening in specific moments that are a bit predictable to me. For my studio setup, I use the EZA-DAW Ableton, the one I've been using since day one, and also use the Push 3 standalone. With the Push, I use two Allen & Heath K2s, and I use as well Fader Fox PC4. The Fader Fox is more for the synths part, to be more specific with some details, and the rest, the Allen & Heath controllers are more for like kick drums, hi-hats, and the drums. Something that I realized recently, to use the hands to make music is something much more intuitive than to just use the keyboard and mouse, which is fun sometimes as well, but to actually use your hands to make music is something much more intuitive, in my opinion. Even though that I use mostly software stuff in the end, it's just controllers, but it's still more intuitive and fun, let's say. I actually have a lot of parameters on the same knob, for example, something that you can't do on the one you're using the mouse and keyboard. I mean, you can do it if you automate it and whatever, but to have a physical knob there that you can do things quickly, it's much better in my opinion. I use Push mostly for my live performances, and it's a great way to merge the two things together, the studio production part and the live performance part. For many years I wanted to do live performances again, because I used to do it in the past, but Push allowed me to be as complex as I am when I'm making music, to do some really complex audio effect racks and to have a lot of control over the little sounds that I want to do. Something that when you're using hardware synthesizers and so on is not as easy. So for someone that uses Ableton as much as I do, the transition to Push is fairly easy. And on top of that, you have the physicality of controlling with your hands the sounds, you know, if you choose the right parameters and if you assign to the right knobs and if you make everything easy, for you can have a lot of fun and make things super intuitive. The way that I use it in the studio setting is that I might work on some ideas here and then send the output of the standalone to my production computer, and then I'll use the synths to build tracks or something here. Yeah. When I'm using the Push to work on something to jam, is mostly the synths. I record the synths with some automations, some live automations. It's like a synth jam, let's say. And then I send it back to my computer to then arrange the whole track. But my main focus are synths when it comes to make music. It's mostly Ableton stock samples that I use as drums. For synths, I use Hive, Basil, Diva, Chromaphone I'm trying to use lately as well. It's a very good synth. I'm trying to use it properly. It's hard to get the result that I want, but it's a very good synth. My favorite effects are pitch shifters, hands down. I use a lot of pitch shifters, and I also like to use multiband compression a lot. You can really make sounds very big using multiband compressors, especially if you use it in a very extreme way, like I like to do it, in a very exaggerated way. You can really get some interesting sounds out of it. I also like to use grain delays from Ableton, especially the Ableton one, the grain delay. It's an iconic effect. I've been using it since forever. I also like to use the spectral resonator from Ableton. You can really make very interesting sounds with a simple 909 tom or 808 tom. You can make it very big with just a few tweaks. Another new effect that I really like to use from Ableton is the roar. It's from the Ableton 12. It's the best way to put it is like a multi-effect thing. You have filters, you have distortion, you have a lot of stuff that delays even, and it combines everything into one single simple effect, and it's absolutely amazing. You can get super creative with it, and I've been using it a lot. Yeah. For reverbs, I use ROM from Native Instruments, and besides ROM, I use the stock Ableton One. I think it's very good. For delays, I use mostly delays from Ableton. They're great, they do the job. The echo, the normal delay, they're great, yeah. My effects chains are complex in the sense of they have a lot of stuff. The way that I do it, for example, I can have like 2 spectral resonators. I might have like a distortion. I might have like a grain delay even, and a reverb and some more effects, all going to one knob, for example, and with one knob I can control the whole thing. I do that especially with my live setup. I have those chains that, for example, with a drum rack that has a lot of toms, I can sequence the toms and then pass through the chain that will give a lot of character to a simple 909 tom and make it like a synth sound. When I'm jamming live, I don't record absolutely everything. Most of the times when I'm jamming with my live setup, I record only the synth without any kicks, without any metronome or anything. I like to jam in this way so that I don't have like a kick pattern or some hi-hats or whatever limiting the way that I'm doing things. I prefer to just see the synth as a specific thing, as its own thing, and then try to put it together on the arrangement part when I record it back to my computer. I used to be super relaxed when it comes to arrangement. I didn't really make a lot of sense, but over the last years, I want my arrangements to be like in some way mathematical, so they have phrases. So whenever I'm mixing my tunes, I know when something will happen, you know. So I like to have something happening in specific moments that are a bit predictable to me. And I want to do this throughout all my tracks, you know, since, I don't know, like 1 year or something, I like to have this predictable, to me, method of arranging tracks. I've tried in the past to do live jams, but it doesn't really work for me because sometimes it's a bit off and so on, and I'm a bit obsessed with having everything correctly put on the arrangement, so yeah. I prefer to use headphones to produce because you can hear the sound closer to you, and I've been used to it for many years. I never really understood these monitors in the studio production setting. As to hear music, I understand them, but to produce music, I don't know. I can tweak things more specifically if I have the sound closer to me.